See, we're on the record in cause number 40778 in the interest of Emmeline Carter Herrera, a child, on temporary orders on the petition to modify parent-child relationship, proceeding via Zoom, via video conference by agreement of the parties at this time pursuant to Rule 21D of the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. Let's see, Mr. Northern, on behalf of Caitlyn Ramirez, are you ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor. Van Northern for the petitioner.
All right. And Mr. Herrera, it's the court's understanding you wish to continue this matter to another date?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me get some, well, first of all, the court's server for its files was down and is still down so that the court cannot review any kind of documents that have been filed in its files. And so the court's somewhat at a disadvantage. I do have the paper file here. And I want Mr. Northern and maybe Mr. Herrera to clarify some things for the court before we proceed. First of all, where is the child? Mr. Northern?
She's right now in daycare.
Where, though?
Well, I'm talking about in whose custody is she?
Mine.
All right. And how long have you had her?
Since August the 22nd.
All right. I note that there was an appeal filed from the May 15, 2024 order and suit affecting parent-child relationship. Mr. Northern, what's the status of that appeal? I did not see any kind of anything from the Court of Appeals in the clerk's file.
I concur, Your Honor. Of course, before we filed, we did contact the trial counsel and appellate counsel to inquire as to the status. That order is still on appeal. There's been no change in that matter.
All right. And is it your opinion that you can proceed with the modification even though that matter's on appeal?
Yes, Your Honor, only upon a showing that there is a danger of immediate harm to the physical or mental health of the child, which we believe we can show.
All right. And then one other thing, I noticed that Brooks Barfield was the attorney ad litem for the child. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And has he been discharged, Mr. Northern? Do you know? Or
I
Mr.
believe so,
Herrera?
Your Honor.
You think he has?
Upon the final judgment, yes, Your Honor.
All right. And is there a specific discharge in the file for him?
I do not know the answer to that, Your Honor. I was speaking in terms of civil procedure upon a final judgment that all counsel would be discharged. But
Well, typically in a child protective services case, if the matter's on appeal, the attorney ad litem is not discharged and may respond to any issues on appeal that the ad litem wishes to do that, not discharged. Do you think it would be prudent or advisable to notice the attorney ad litem for the child for this hearing? I just want your opinion because the court has its own.
well, Your Honor, due to when we filed this case, there was an emergency which we think still exists. And we think, although we don't have a problem with Mr. Barfield participating, if that is his wish, we feel like it is urgent that we present some evidence for the protection of the child without further delay. That's just our position.
All right. Mr. Herrera, to you, Mr. Northern and Ms. Herrera and Mr. Herrera, I think what the court wants to do today, just looking and not having access to its files, which is really a problem because I like to be prepared before I go in, and Mr. Northern knows that. I do want to hear the testimony from Mr. Flores, and then I'll recess. And there's a volume of, I appreciate Mr. Herrera appearing and sending me what his dilemmas are. And I would recess this and then hopefully have a chance to review the file more completely. And then until recess until 1:30 next Tuesday afternoon, that's the 29th. And we can proceed via Zoom at that time. My first thought was that we do it in person, but Mr. Herrera, I think, is probably going to be working. So, and does Mr. Herrera, does that give you enough time to do what you need to do?
Yes, sir. I just need a little guidance on how I need to turn all this information in,
Guidance on what?
on how to get all this paperwork turned in for my side of everything.
Well, I realize that you're on your own, and court does certainly have some empathy for that, but the court cannot offer you legal advice or I can't be your lawyer for you.
Yes,
So,
sir. Does that get turned into you via email?
yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
All right, you can send it to me, and anything you have, you need to also copy to Mr. Northern.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that he has it and is not flying blind like the court is this afternoon, not because of you, but because of the electronic nature of these wonderful things that we have. So,
Yes, sir.
let's see, Mr. Flores, if you'd be so kind as to raise your right hand. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give and the matter now in hearing before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. And the court will be prepared to enter some temporary orders, which are not going to be that much different than where we are right now. But given as we're only looking at 4 days, we'll proceed. Mr. Northern, do you have any questions for Mr. Flores?
I do, Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Mr. Flores, did you have an occasion to investigate my client recently of the allegation that she had been choking the child subject of this matter, Caitlyn Ramirez?
Yes, sir. I did have contact with the family regarding an allegation of physical abuse of Miss Emmeline Carter, I believe.
Yeah, can we agree to call her Carter? That's her, I think, middle name. That's what the family calls the child.
Yes, sir.
And in the process of investigating that claim, did you take a video of some discussion with the child about strangulation?
I recorded our voices. It was not a video, but yes, I did record our voices. It was an audio recording. Sorry.
And what did the child say about either her mom strangling her or her dad, specifically Nathan Herrera, strangling her? What did the child say?
During questioning, I asked her if she has been choked. Sorry. During questioning, in her responses, she indicated that Mr. Nathan Herrera, her dad, had choked her.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that.
Sorry. She indicated that Dad, Nathan Herrera, had choked her.
And did he indicate whether or not her mother, my client, Caitlyn Ramirez, had choked her?
When I asked her, she did not indicate that on her own. And when I asked her specifically, she would only repeat, Dad choked me.
Okay. Did you have an occasion, approximately when was this interview?
My interview with the family occurred on September 2nd,
And in the course of your investigation, have you had a chance to look at photographs that my client, Caitlyn Ramirez, took of alleged knots and bruises to the head and the face? Have you had occasion to look at those photos?
I did not, and the reason being because the case jurisdiction was not in my jurisdiction, so I was only requested as a courtesy worker to go meet with the family and talk to the parents and the child.
Can you tell the court whether or not, as a result of your investigation, any criminal complaint is now pending? against Mr. Herrera?
I do not have knowledge of that information.
All right.
So whose jurisdiction would this be under, Mr. Flores?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me look at that very quickly. It's going to be Gray County. So the CPS office in Gray County was the primary investigator.
And who would that
from
be?
Gray County.
And who would that be?
It turns out in looking at this, there were several investigators that were involved, but the primary investigator looks like was assigned as Lori Martinez.
All right. And have you had an opportunity to visit with her?
She was actually out whenever I made contact. When my report came in, my courtesy request came in, Miss Lori Martinez was out.
All right.
I forgot, there's one last question. As the base of your investigation, are you making any recommendation to the agency you work for?
Again, I was not in charge of the investigation. My only duty was to interview the family and interview the child and relay that information to the primary worker.
Is there any other information that you believe would be helpful to the judge in making a very short-term decision in this case? Anything else you care to share with the judge?
I would share that in making contact with Carter in mom's home, the home was appropriate. Carter looked fine. She was appropriate. I didn't have any concerns for Carter's safety in the home. That was the only home that I observed Carter in, though.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Herrera, do you have any questions for Mr. Flores? If you wish to make a statement, you may, but you're on mute right now, so we can't hear you. All right, there you go. Thank you.
No, just in regards to that criminal investigation that was closed out. You have proof of that?
Is that a question?
Questions.
Excuse
No
me?
questions for
No
him.
questions? All right. Mr. Flores, I assume that that when you talked to Carter, the child, that your questions were age appropriate?
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with her in a way that she would understand me.
All right. And can you tell the court if, in your opinion, I assume you've had training on whether or not you can determine if a child's been coached?
What was
Have you had training in that regard?
Yes, Your Honor. We received that type of training in our.
All right. And did you determine, at least in your opinion, whether or not Carter was coached in answering your questions?
I was unable to determine if she had been coached. In my observation, I even documented that when I first made contact with the family to make arrangements to meet with the family in order to speak with Carter, I did not tell them what the allegation was at the time. All I concentrated on was telling them I needed to meet with them. And I met with them the following day, and then I finally disclosed what the allegation was, and that was the first time they were hearing about the allegation whenever I met with them in person.
Okay. Were Carter's answers to your questions age appropriate? Were they something a 3-year-old would tell you or something an 18-year-old would tell you?
No, her answers were age appropriate because she just kept repeating "Daddy choked me." But the way the conversation kind of was, the conversation that we had kind of was similar to, like, I asked her if anybody's ever mean to her, and she said, "Daddy, only Daddy." And I asked, "How is Daddy mean to you?" She says, "Dad choked me." "Has anybody else ever choked you?" "Dad choked me." "Has Mom ever choked you?" "Dad choked me." "Has your stepdad ever choked you?" "Dad choked me." And that was the nature of the conversation.
Any other questions, Mr. Northern?
Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Herrera, anything?
No, sir.
All right. We're going to, I will extend the temporary orders that are in existence at the present time. And Mr. Herrera, you'll not be able to visit with your child at least until the court hears the remaining evidence on next Tuesday afternoon at 1:30. And whatever you want to present, be sure and email that to the court and also to Mr. Northern. You have both email addresses, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for being here this afternoon. Mr. Northern, if you'd prepare that brief order.
I will, Your Honor. In that Hearing date is Tuesday, October 29th
At 1:30. At 1:30
by video.
via Zoom, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Meeting ID, as I've said before, 253-149-1590.
That won't change.
All right. And Miss Morris,
I'm not very savvy about these things. You're saying the meeting ID will not change?
do I?
Not change.
Okay.
The video is ID will not change.
Thanks, Ms. Morris. Good to see you.
Nor will there be a passcode.
Okay.
And typically, Miss Morris will send email links, and she has your email address and Mr. Herrera's, and so we'll see you on Tuesday, October 29th at 1:30 via Zoom.
All right. I want to thank the witnesses for appearing. If you've been subpoenaed, if you would continue to obey the subpoena for the continued time of Tuesday, October 29th at 1:30.
All right. We are adjourned. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
This is the 223rd Judicial District Court in Gray County, Texas, proceeding via Zoom via video conference pursuant to the applicable provisions of Rule 21D, Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, in this civil matter, cause number 40778, in the interest of Emmeline Carter Herrera, a child on temporary orders. Mr. Northern, are you ready to proceed on behalf of the movement, Caitlyn Ramirez?
Van Northern, we are ready to proceed.
Right. And you are Nathan Herrera, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you are the respondent?
Yes, sir.
And are you ready to proceed this afternoon on
Yes,
temporary?
sir, I am.
All right, Mr. Northern?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm briefly going to call Mr. Flores.
All right, Mr. Flores was here last week, and he's previously been sworn. He's still under oath and subject to the subpoena. You may proceed, Mr. Northern.
Mr. Flores, Van Northern again. I represent Caitlyn Ramirez. Are you somewhat familiar with the importance or lack of importance of immunization for a child of this age, of Carter's age?
Mr. Flores, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. I do understand that it is important for immunizations for children of this age, yes.
Your Honor, I don't have a way to get this exhibit to Mr. Herrera, but I would ask the court to take judicial notice of an official City of Amarillo Department of Public Health record, Exhibit G, which consists of 2 pages.
Notice is taken as requested, and you do have Mr. Herrera's email, do you not, Mr. Northern?
I don't think I have it handy, but
you do have it.
yes.
All right.
Just going to ask him a couple of
At some point when we conclude the hearing, you'll need to email that to him.
I will, Your Honor.
All right.
So, Mr. Herrera, hypothetically, if these immunization records showed that
Let me correct you. You said Mr. Herrera. You're talking to Mr. Flores, correct?
Rudy Flores, I'm sorry.
All right.
Flores, hypothetically, if the record showed that this child, the subject of the case, Emmeline Carter Salinas, had not had any of her vaccinations or shots from May 11th, 2022 until my client took her to get shots on September the 5th, 2024, so she could get into school. Would that concern you if that was true?
I would only be, it would be a concern for me, but I don't have, like, I'm not a specialist or professional in that matter. We do always recommend that parents take their children for their well child checkups and get immunizations on time. But I do understand that immunizations are not required. It is a parent's choice, and therefore we simply just make the recommendation because we do know that it is important.
Do you believe it's in the best interest of the child to have all of her vaccinations?
Always, that is always our recommendation. Yes, because it is in their best interest.
Have you had some instances in your experience where a child did not have inoculation of vaccinations and became very ill?
I have not had that experience personally, no, in my profession.
Now, in your training and experience, is the immunization vaccination a factor that your department, CPS, looks into to determine if a child needs to be removed for neglect or abuse? Is that a factor?
Immunizations are not a factor for removal, no.
Okay. All right.
Not in and of itself, I'm sorry.
I had another question. Are you aware of any drug testing, specifically hair follicle tests, that was done on my client, Caitlyn Ramirez, and her fiance, Cody Newton? Are you aware of those hair follicle tests that were done?
I am not aware of those hair follicle tests, no.
Judge, I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Herrera, did you have any questions for Mr. Flores?
No, sir.
All right. Anything else from this witness, Mr. Northern?
No, Your Honor, we'd ask this witness be excused.
Mr. Flores, you are excused. May go about your regular duties. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Northern, you may call your next witness.
I call Caitlyn Ramirez.
All right. Ms. Ramirez, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give and the matter now in hearing before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Northern?
How old are you, Caitlyn?
31.
And you're the mother of the Emmeline Carter Salinas?
Yes. Her last name was recently changed to Herrera, but
Oh.
yes.
All right. And does everybody call her Carter with a K?
Yes.
Where do you reside?
1619. Do I give my address on here? In Amarillo.
Amarillo, Texas. How long have you lived in Amarillo?
7 months.
Right. And you're not here pretending to be, a perfect lady with no problems.
No.
You had to go to jail for a while, right?
Yes.
You went to jail for theft.
Yes.
And while you're away, well, back up. But before you went to jail, Caitlyn was born. I'm sorry, Carter was born to you.
Yes.
And did you have sole possession of the child for a long period?
Yes.
You had sole possession of the child from birth until when?
Until she was almost 2.
And that's when you went to jail?
Yes.
And you paid your debt to society?
Yes.
And you're released on parole at this time?
That is correct.
All right. And when did you get out of jail?
At the end of March.
And at that time, there was a hearing before the good judge, and it was determined at that time that the child was going to be placed primarily with the father, Mr. Herrera.
Yes.
And that was, you believe, it was because what?
They said that it was only because I had just got home.
From jail?
Yes.
All right. Where are you employed?
The Holiday Inn.
And how long have you been employed there?
Since a few days after I got home.
And have you been successful in that employment?
Yes. I started there at the front desk, and I'm now the general manager of the hotel.
Okay. And the name of that hotel is what?
The Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Amarillo East.
All right. And quick question: does this child have medical insurance?
Yes.
All right. Now you are not married.
No.
You are engaged to whom?
Cody Newton.
And he lives with you.
Correct.
And where is he employed?
Tasco Centrifuge.
How long has he been there?
Over 2 years.
All right. He does live at the home there with Carter, correct?
Correct.
How many children altogether do you have?
5.
And other than Carter, you have either shared custody or sole possession of 4 of them?
Correct.
All right. Did you voluntarily do drug testing from March, since you got back in March 2024? Or were you forced to do drug testing?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Hair follicle tests?
When I met with Mr. Flores, me and Cody volunteered to do drug tests. It was later asked of us to do them, and we did, but we did volunteer it initially to go do the drug tests. I have been drug tested when I first got home every week for parole. I wouldn't say that was voluntarily because it was required, but I didn't oppose it in any way.
All right. To your knowledge of all those tests, have you been clean?
Yes.
And the same question about Cody. He was hair follicle tested
Correct.
and he was clean?
Correct.
All right. Now, tell the court about how Carter's doing. Is Carter enrolled in school now?
Yes. Carter loves school.
Where does Carter go to school?
She goes to the Amarillo Montessori Day School.
All right. And she's doing well there?
She is doing amazing.
All right. Now I'm going to direct your attention, Your Honor, and to the witness. We did send these exhibits to Mr. Herrera, Exhibits G. Where did you get these exhibits?
The health department here in Amarillo.
And the first page, G, shows all of the immunizations that she needs, or?
The first page shows the immunizations that she had up until September the 4th.
And were these immunizations given while the child was with you?
Yes.
All right. And then you went off to jail when?
November of 2022.
All right. And then the next page, what does that show?
The next page shows her updated chart records of me taking her for immunizations so that she could start daycare last month.
Has she now had all of her shots?
Yes.
Polio and MMR and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
But she did not have those shots according to the records from Mr. Herrera.
She was over a year behind.
All right. Now, at this time, Your Honor, I'm going to go briefly over our client's affidavit. Now, at the hearing in front of the judge, we talked about back in March, Nathan was given sole conservatorship. Since that time, you exercised your right of possessory conservatorship, correct?
Correct.
When Carter was first born, was Nathan involved in her life?
No.
He became involved after Carter was placed in foster care?
Not until I was incarcerated.
When she was about 1.5 years old?
Yes.
Again, just to repeat, before that, the child lived with you exclusively?
Correct.
Is it your testimony that Nathan does or does not have a history of domestic violence with you?
He does.
Without going into too much detail, when did that happen and what happened?
About 2 weeks after we started dating, I wanted to leave, and Nathan held me at gunpoint, and I left anyways, and he punched a hole in the wall, chased me outside with a gun, and he actually ended up mailing me my ID and social security card a couple of months later.
All right. Are there any other instances that you wish to share with the court?
No.
All right. Now, so you were exercising your possession beginning in March of 2024?
In May.
I'm sorry, May of 2024?
Yes.
Tell the court, during your period of possession, have you noticed any problems with Carter's physical appearance?
Yes.
What problems are those?
I was notified by CPS of an open investigation against Nathan for abusing my daughter. they told me to start checking her when I had her for bruises, bumps, and things like that. So that's what I started doing. The first time I checked her, she had some bruises. Nathan said she had fallen down at daycare, which kids have accidents. I didn't think too much of it. I took pictures. I went on. The next time she came, he said that, oh God, my poor baby.
Okay.
The next time that she
Wait,
came.
instead of a narrative, let me just ask questions.
Okay.
All right. Do you recall anything that you saw about Carter's appearance on May 22nd of this year when you had possession?
Yes, she had bruises on her back
Okay.
that were concerning.
All right. And you took pictures of that?
Yes.
Did you make a report to the police about it?
No.
What did the police tell you to take pictures of any bruises?
Yes. I was told to make sure and take pictures of everything so that everything could be documented because Nathan did have an open CPS case for abuse.
All right. What if anything happened on June 1st of 2024 when you had possession of Carter?
It was actually June the 28th.
Okay.
But I picked up Carter from her dad, who had asked me to pick her up early. And when he gave me, it was about 10 o'clock at night. And when he gave me Carter, he said that she had fallen off the couch, so she had a knot on her head. When I got her home.
Excuse me, I need to answer this phone, Judge.
All right, we'll have to go stand in recess.
Yes, this is Karen.
What happened on August 22nd?
On August 22nd, I was supposed to pick up my daughter for 2 hours. When I picked her up, she was wearing a baseball cap, and I actually asked Nathan before he left the parking lot of the sheriff's department what had happened to her eye. She came over with a black eye. I made a video of her 10 minutes after I picked her up. She's actually still in her car seat in the car. And I filed a police report as soon as we got home.
Well, first of all, you also, what is Exhibit A for?
It's a video of my daughter.
All right. And we asked that video be admitted, Your Honor. A copy was sent to the respondent.
Any objection, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
Petitioner's A4, the video is admitted.
I got out of order earlier. You were talking about what happened on June 8th. You said 28th, there were some bruises or marks on her back. Did you take a picture of that on June the 28th?
Yes.
And was that shown in Exhibit A5?
Yes.
We asked that A5 be admitted, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Petitioner's A5 is admitted. Mr. Northern, you had talked about petitioner's A3, but I don't show that you ever offered that. Was it your intent to offer A3, petitioner's A3?
Yes, Your Honor. A3 is the one with the large, dark bruise on the forehead of the child.
And did you offer that?
We asked that A3 be admitted.
All right. Any objection, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
Petitioner's A3 is admitted.
So I just want to make sure we've asked for and been admitted A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5, correct?
That's correct.
Is it, what are you asking the court to do? If we're going to do temporary orders, what do you want the court to do?
I am asking that Carter can stay with me. I don't want child support. I don't want anything like that. I just want my daughter to stay with me, and I'm asking that her dad not be allowed access to her.
Well, would supervised visitation be permitted?
Yes.
All right. I pass the witness.
Mr. Herrera, do you have any questions for Ms. Ramirez?
I do not.
All right. Mr. Northern, you may call your next witness.
Yes. This time I call the respondent, Nathan Herrera.
Mr. Herrera, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give and the matter now in hearing before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Northern, you may put your hand down.
So how old are you, Mr. Herrera?
I am 24 years old.
And are you married?
I am not.
How many children do you have?
I have 4.
What are their names?
I have Zariah Lynn Herrera, Owen Johnny Herrera, Emmeline Carter Herrera, and Kaiser Nathan Herrera.
Other than Carter, do you have any right to visitation with the first 3 children, Zariah, Owen, and Emily? Emmeline? I'm sorry. So it's Zariah, Owen.
Zariah,
Go ahead.
Zariah lives in Dallas, so I'm not able to get over there due to my work schedule, but Owen, I am able to see when I'm able to.
But there's 4 children on. What's the 4th child's name?
Kaiser Nathan Herrera.
Do you have any rights of visitation with Kaiser?
Yes, he lives with me.
What about Kaiser's a month old?
He's a month and 3 weeks.
Okay. Is it not true that you'd had your rights terminated with another child, Zariah?
No, sir, I have not had my rights terminated.
You didn't lose custody of that child in a proceeding in front of Judge Vanderpool?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you have to defend yourself against allegations of family violence against Topeka Masias, the mother of Zariah?
No, I was never served with papers. And there was a protective order put in place, I believe, but I was arrested on it and it was dismissed.
Okay. You heard the testimony earlier about vaccinations. Can you tell the court during the time that you had custody of Carter, did you take the child to a doctor to be examined?
Yes, and I also took her to a dentist, and she had an appointment scheduled for August 27th, but I was never returned to my daughter, so I was unable to take her.
Okay, you took possession by court order of the children in May 2024 of the child?
Paperwork wise, yes, but I was given Carter on July 7th of the previous year.
Okay, but you also had possession of the child when Carter was released from foster care while Caitlyn was in jail, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any vaccinations done for the child during that period?
No, sir, because there was a hiccup with the Medicaid and it was saying that she didn't have it. And I had to get all that information cleared up with Summer Daniels, the St. Francis specialist.
How long did you have custody and possession of the child from the time that foster care gave her to you until May of this year. How long did you have the child approximately?
Had been about 9 to 10 months, I believe.
Well, she was about 1.5 years old when Caitlyn had to go to jail, right?
Yes, sir.
And then went into foster care at that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had to prove that I was her father
Okay.
before I was able to get her out.
And bottom line is you didn't have any vaccinations or inoculations given to Carter while she was in your care. Is that correct?
That's correct.
For whatever reason.
Yes, sir.
Are you against vaccinations and inoculations?
I am not. There was just a hiccup with the Medicaid information, and I was unable to get her in.
So during that period, she didn't have protection against things like rubella, measles, polio, things like that?
She went to a doctor, but she was unable to get her shots because she couldn't get it paid for.
Which doctor was that?
I'd have to look. I could get the information right now.
Right. Are you currently on felony probation for harassment of a public servant?
Yes, sir, I am.
For how long?
4 years in total.
When will that be over?
I believe in 2027.
Okay. Did you plead guilty to those charges?
I pled guilty to that charge. Yes, sir.
What did you do? What did you plead guilty to doing?
Harassing a police officer. I was drunk in 2019 and I had spit in a cop's face.
You spit in his face?
Yes, sir.
That's all there is to it?
Yes, sir.
What you pled guilty to?
Yes, sir.
Are you currently employed?
I am.
Where do you work?
Big Creek Sand and Gravel for D.E. Rice Construction out of Borger, Texas.
How long have you been there?
Going on about 6 months here.
A month or 6 months?
6 months here, I believe.
Okay. How much do you make there?
19 an hour.
Full time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is the child currently on Medicaid?
What child are we speaking of?
Carter.
I'm not sure if she changed it, but when she was with me, yes, she was.
All right. Have you discussed today's hearing with your girlfriend?
She's aware of it.
What's her name?
Shada Holly.
Are you aware that she contacted witnesses and asked them why they were testifying today?
No, I did not.
Did you tell her to do that?
No. And what witnesses?
Well, your stepdad, your ex, Topeka Messias. Did you?
I asked Willie Hanks why, because there's an altercation there.
Okay.
Mr. Herrera, when you had custody of Carter and you were at work, who took care of the child?
During the last few months, it was Shada Holly because she was out on maternity leave. But before that, I had hired a private babysitter or daycare, you could say.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Northern.
Was it a daycare facility or just private daycare in your home?
It's a private individual at their home.
Okay.
She was in a daycare, an at-home facility that was licensed, but I got rid of that one because of black mold and it's just getting too expensive. Once I was made aware of that, I pulled her out.
I threw a fit about it to CPS.
Isn't it true that Caitlyn brought the black mold to your attention and asked you to do something about it?
No, because she was already out of daycare at that time.
No, I contacted CPS and I have the messages.
Do you have an explanation for the bruises, the scratches, the videos, the pictures that the judge admitted into evidence? Do you have an explanation for those things?
You'd have to be more specific on which ones, but the bruise on her eye with the video, that was a mosquito bite, and I took pictures of everything, let CPS know. There was a scratch on her belly that was from a dog. I let CPS know once again. And the knot on her head was from falling off a couch onto tile. And the person that was watching her contacted me. I contacted CPS. CPS spoke with her and her daughter to confirm what really had happened.
So the pictures on August 15th, the bruise on the shoulder, you have an explanation for that?
I'm not sure on that one because when CPS went out and they called me after, they said that there was no bruise there.
Okay, but you've seen the pictures. We sent them to you. They're color pictures.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen the pictures, but when CPS went there, there was no bruise.
I'm asking you,
Yes, sir.
is
That's
that
what I'm
a
saying.
bruise? Or are you saying that's not a bruise?
From my understanding, it's not a bruise.
And the discolored eye on June 28th and the big knot on the forehead, you're saying both of that, all that's from a fall?
I was not made aware of the eye color, but the fall on her head where she had a bump, yes.
Well, you've seen the pictures.
I'm saying at the time I wasn't made aware until today, sir.
You weren't aware until today? You didn't look at the pictures until today? That I sent you a week ago?
I've been very busy.
Okay. And the August 22nd, now that's a different day with the bruise over the eye. You have an explanation?
Yes, that is from a mosquito bite. And I took pictures of that as well and sent them to CPS and contacted them.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Let's see, I have no questions. You may call your next witness. Well, let me rephrase that. Mr. Herrera, did you have anything you wanted to tell the court?
No, sir. I don't believe so.
All
Just
right.
that everything was documented through CPS and they were made aware anytime anything happened. And I spoke with them and we decided that there wasn't going to be no physical punishment or timeouts or anything for the last 2 or so, 3 months of all this.
Did you sign a safety plan with them?
I'm not sure. I think we just came to a verbal agreement that there wasn't going to be no physical punishment.
All right. Mr. Northern, anything else?
No, Your Honor. We call our next witness Topeka Messias.
All right. Is she, Miss Dudley, is she,
I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
all right.
Is there somebody waiting by phone?
That
No,
is
everyone
Mr.
is here.
Hanks. That was William Hanks. I can see him right now.
Okay, then we call William Hanks.
All right. Mr. Hanks, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give and the matter now in hearing before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Northern?
Tell us, are you related to Nathan Herrera?
Yes, sir. I was his stepfather.
You were his stepdad?
Yes, sir.
So you were married to Nathan's mother?
Yes, sir.
For how long?
9 years.
Okay, when did that marriage end?
Just recently. We're not divorced yet, but we're in the process of a divorce.
During your time with, I'm sorry, what was her name? April?
Oh, April?
During the time you spent with April, did you have occasion to observe Nathan Herrera's behavior and fathering of a child?
Yes, I did.
Which child did you get to watch him take care of?
Carter, just Carter.
Is there anything that you observed about that that causes a concern to you?
At the time, it didn't cause a concern. It didn't seem like anything, but since I've been visiting with Carter with her mother, there's quite the contrast there, and how Carter's demeanor and behavior was with her dad compared to how she is with her mother.
What do you mean how it was with her dad? You talking about Nathan?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean how it was with her dad?
She was a pretty angry, little upset child. She had a bunch of behavior issues while she was there with her dad.
Like what?
She would throw fits. She was just angry a lot. She was really, really angry a lot. Throw a lot of fits. So,
what, if anything, did Nathan do when she would throw these fits and have behavior problems? What would he do?
while we were around, he would typically set her down and make her sit still or go in timeout, whatever. I have seen him swat her, but it wasn't. My opinion wasn't an abuse thing there. But
all right. Now, since that time, you've had occasion to observe Caitlyn as a mother with Carter, the child, right?
Yes, sir.
And what would you tell the court about that?
I've watched Carter. She's happy. She's well taken care of. She's always happy now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's quite the contrast there.
Are you saying there were periods that she was not well taken care of with Nathan Herrera?
Not necessarily, but now she's got her hair done, her nails done, stuff that you would expect for a little girl.
Okay. All right, I'll pass the witness.
Let's see, Mr. Herrera, any questions for Mr. Hanks?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Northern?
Your Honor, we at this time just asked to be admitted into evidence Exhibit D, which is a no contact order involving Nathan Herrera and Topeka, Lynn, Messias, and Zariah Herrera. That's Exhibit D be admitted.
All right. Does that include the protective order?
Yes, Your Honor, there is a protective order attached to it. It's approximately.
And those are certified copies of public documents, are they not, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any objection, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
Petitioner's Exhibit D is admitted.
Your Honor, we rest.
Court takes judicial notice of the judgment of conviction in cause number 11473, State of Texas versus Nathan Joe Herrera, pending in this court, the 223rd District Court, Gray County, Texas. Mr. Herrera, any other witnesses or anything you'd like to present this afternoon, sir?
Lori Martinez from
All right,
CPS.
all right, Ms. Martinez, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give and the matter now in hearing before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Herrera?
Lori, was there any concerns of abuse of any nature taking place in the home at my residence?
There was several reported concerns, and we did observe. We did complete the investigation, and we did not end the case with any validation of physical abuse.
And we would be CPS, Child Protective Services?
Yes.
All right,
Sure.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Have you received any documentation and phone calls as to the matter of when Carter got hurt or had bruises before she went to her mother, Caitlyn Ramirez? No.
Okay, can you ask that again, please?
Was there documentation and phone calls from me, myself, basically saying what had happened with Carter and if she had fell or anything like that?
Yes, so you did contact me before notifying me of when she fell and a mosquito bites.
And did me and you kind of agree that I would take pictures from that point out and no physical punishments whatsoever until all this was resolved?
Yes, at our first contact, I did ask you to refrain from using physical discipline, especially during the investigation.
And when you came in my home, was there any concerns of like welfare? Was there food? Did she have a bed, place to sleep?
Yes, the home was appropriate. No health or safety concerns. There was food, plenty of food, and she did have a bed.
And did I provide you with documentation showing that she had doctor's appointments she had missed due to her mother having her in her custody?
Yes.
And what was the decision made on all this CPS case?
We closed CPS, Child Protective Services, completed the investigation, and we determined that the physical abuse of Emmeline Carter, Emmeline, by you and Mrs. Ramirez was unable to determine for physical abuse.
All right. That's the witness.
Mr. Northern?
Yes, when did you open an investigation of abuse for the child, Emmeline Carter Herrera?
It was open the end of June, I believe June the 29th.
So how do we know?
And so I just want to be clear. It sounded like you said that Mr. Herrera contacted you before that date. Is that what you meant to say?
No, sir, I did not mean to say that.
Okay. So what was the abuse report from my client in June?
I'm not able to disclose reporters' information unless it's ordered by the judge.
Okay. Did you see any of these pictures that we admitted into evidence of bruises and on multiple dates, not just June 28th, August 15th, August 22nd? Did you see those pictures?
I have not seen the pictures that have been admitted into evidence. Ms. Ramirez did send me some photographs by text message throughout the investigation period.
You didn't find anything of concern about those pictures?
Oh, well, we went out and saw the child after the pictures were sent, but we did not, CPS, the workers who did go, did not see all of the bruising that the picture shown. And they were, after speaking with Mr. Herrera, he did give explanation on how some of the bruises occurred or the injuries.
Okay.
Was his explanation consistent with the injury shown in the pictures?
Well, not in some of the pictures, yes.
The pictures that you had, Ms. Martinez, not necessarily the admitted pictures, but the ones that you had, were his explanations consistent with those injuries?
Yes. However, when a CPS worker would go out to see Emmeline, that Carter, the next day or that same day, we didn't see the bruising, some of the bruising and things that were on the pictures that were sent to me. So that was kind of, I don't know.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Northern.
So how many times Have you actually observed Carter personally? The child, Emily?
Personally,
It's just the once, isn't it, at the bridge?
no, I saw her at Mr. Herrera's home. So twice.
Okay, so once at his home for how long?
It was roughly 25 to 30 minutes.
And when did that happen, that visit?
Oh, goodness. It was after she returned from the month-long visit with Miss Ramirez over the summer. I'm not sure of the exact day.
And the reason for your visit that day was to investigate a report of what?
The reason for my visit that day was to see Carter or Emmeline interacting with her dad and seeing her in her home environment.
Are you aware of the video that, or I'm sorry, are you aware of the recording that another investigator from Amarillo, Rudy Flores, made where she said that Mr. Herrera choked her? Are you aware of that video?
Yes, I am.
Have you seen the video?
Miss Ramirez sent me a video.
Does that raise any concerns for you?
Yes, it was concerning.
All right. What, if anything, is going to be done about that?
Our investigation is complete. I discussed with Mr. Herrera about not using any type of physical discipline. He denied choking Caitlyn. Mr. Herrera did say that he also has a video of Carter saying that Miss Ramirez choked her.
Okay. Do you have any training to help you determine whether or not a child has been coached to make an accusation?
I have completed numerous trainings, but it's not 100%. Basically, there's no way to tell sometimes.
Okay. Do you have training to determine whether or not a outcry is age appropriate?
Like I said, I have completed numerous trainings during my career.
Okay. So at this time, you've closed any cases against either my client, Caitlyn, or Mr. Herrera?
Yes.
And I'm just curious going forward, because I don't know what's going to happen today. What is the best way to involve you and your department about these claims of abuse? What do you recommend we do differently, if anything?
If you have concerns of abuse and neglect for a child, you call the statewide intake hotline number, and and then if it's an emergency situation, you also notify law enforcement.
Are you aware in this case that a police report was made about the choking of the child, the Amarillo Police Department, by my client? Are you aware of that?
Yes, Ms. Ramirez did notify me of that.
Have you seen the report?
I believe it was uploaded. However, it was not the jurisdiction. It was Gray County who covered that.
Okay. So that's a no?
Right, that's a no.
Your Honor, we'd ask that Exhibit C be admitted. Our request under Public Information Act about this incident just has to be admitted.
Any objection, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
All right.
Pass the witness.
Petitioner's Exhibit C is admitted. Any other questions for Ms. Martinez, Mr. Herrera?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Ms. Martinez, did you speak with Detective Willoughby of the Pampa Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Did she have any concerns of abuse for Carter?
She closed the investigation is what she told me. She was not gonna continue it. No charges were made.
Yes, ma'am. That'll be all, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Northern, any other questions for Ms. Martinez?
When did that conversation take place?
Trying to think. It was after Carter had her bridge interview. It was in September, I do believe. I don't have an exact date.
All right. And that officer identified himself as who?
It's a female, Detective Willoughby, Stephanie Willoughby at Pampa PD.
Oh, Pampa PD. All right. But you haven't had any contact with the Amarillo Police Department or the officer that investigated here, correct?
No, sir.
Pass the witness.
Anything else, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
All right. May this witness be excused.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Martinez, you are excused. May go about your regular duties. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Any other witnesses, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
All right. Anything else you'd like to tell the court?
I would just like the court to be aware that there is a criminal investigation, or I'm not sure if it'd be criminal, but there is an investigation with a pending indictment with the grand jury through the district attorney's office for interference with child custody. I have made 2 police reports each time she has took off with my daughter when she was not supposed to have her. I'd just like the court to be aware of that.
All right. Mr. Northern, does that generate any questions?
Hold on a second. Just a second. Here, think about what he just said. So are you saying you've appeared in front of a grand jury and given testimony?
I have spoke with
I'm not asking wait. I'm not asking what you testified about. I'm asking you, have you appeared before a grand jury? There's an important distinction.
No, that's the DA's job.
So no, you've not appeared in front of the grand jury.
No.
You don't know what, if anything's become of these charges.
I was told it's pending and it was turned into the grand jury by the district attorney of Gray County.
How long ago?
I made the report August 22nd. And if you just give me just a second, I'll look back at the date I spoke with him.
That's fine.
It's 22nd. It's on the post. I'm gonna keep her.
I can't see an exact date, but it was at the beginning of October. I spoke with the district attorney and had a meeting with him. I believe it was October 7th, the morning of October 7th.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions of this witness, but because of that testimony, I need to briefly recall Caitlyn.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Northern? I would remind Mr. Ramirez, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell us about, you made a police report at the Amarillo Police Department about the abuse that you testified to earlier, correct?
Yes.
Specifically what? What were you reporting to them specifically?
My daughter told the officer that her dad slapped her in the face and gave her a black eye.
All right. And the name of that officer was Officer Hernandez?
Correct.
What, if anything, did Mr. Hernandez tell you to do in regard to keeping Miss Carter safe?
He advised me not to return my daughter to her dad until the issue was resolved.
And that he would report the abuse to whom?
That he was filing a report and that he was hoping that Gray County would file charges because my daughter's eye looked bad.
That's all I have. Pass the witness.
Any other questions for Ms. Ramirez, Mr. Herrera?
Were you made aware that all the allegations were dropped by CPS and that she could return home?
After the restraining order was in place.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Northern?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Herrera?
No, sir.
All right. Let me tell both of the parties, and Mr. Northern knows this, these are temporary orders. The court generally does not issue temporary orders and motions to modify. We go directly to a final hearing. We've not had the final hearing in this matter, so these are temporary orders. It's not the be all, the end all until the court does have a final hearing. I will appoint both parents as temporary joint managing conservators. Ms. Ramirez will have the designation to determine the primary residence of the child. Mr. Herrera will have possession and access, but it will be supervised. I don't know what your work schedule is, Mr. Herrera. What is your work schedule?
6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
All right, so you're off on Sundays?
Yes, sir.
Are you off every Sunday?
Yes, sir. And sometimes we get off at 3 on Saturdays.
Okay. One of the things I want both of you to keep in mind is this child is, even though she's 3.5 years old, she is of tender years. And so the visitation is not going to be, particularly temporarily, is not going to be a full standard possession order as contained in the Texas Family Code. Let's see, Mr. Ramirez, do you have anybody that can supervise the visitation for Mr. Herrera? And then I'm going to ask Mr. Herrera if he does.
I would be okay with his mom.
All right. Mr. Herrera, can your mom supervise visitation?
Yes, she can, but I was going to ask if Shada Hawley, my girlfriend, could. She was approved by CPS as a part of a plan that once the abuse allegations came through until they're cleared with PD, that she could supervise.
All right. Ms. Hawley may be well qualified, but in this situation, we're gonna have your mother do it. What's her name?
April Herrera.
All right.
Where does she live?
She lives in Pampa, Texas, sir.
And the exchange has been at the sheriff's office, has it not, or has it been at Pampa Police Department?
It's
Carson County.
Carson County.
All right. Has that been satisfactory?
Yes.
All right. Then Carter will be able to, Mr. Herrera will have supervised visitation from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. on, Ms. Ramirez, do you work?
I do.
All right. Where?
I'm the general manager for the Holiday Inn.
Oh, I think you said that, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. 1 to 5 on, since it's temporary, let's make it each Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
So 1 to 5 on each and every Sunday, pending a final hearing, supervised by April Herrera. And I will put I'm going to put a geographical restriction on visitation, so it'll take place only in Gray County.
Okay.
Let's see, Mr. Herrera, does your mother work?
Yes, she does.
And where does she work?
SWM Technologies in Pampa, Texas.
Oh, so she's off on Sundays.
Most of the time, yes, sir. If not, she can take it off.
All right. At least temporarily.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Northern, if you'd be so kind as to draw the order for the court's signature and submit a copy to Mr. Herrera.
I will, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Herrera, I appreciate you participating in this hearing, as well as Ms. Ramirez. It's important for your child to know that you're an active participant in her life, and
Yes, sir.
if this were a perfect world, it'd be different. Things would be different. So it's not. So we are adjourned.